Very cool. Welcome everybody. So excited to have you here this is October the 6th. My goodness, this year is moving by fast. So fast. Amazing and stuff happening in the world today. So as we continue to welcome our friends, Candy, you are new to this. I've not seen you here before. Can you please share with me, how did you find out about us? And we've got somebody on an iPad, 413 area code. If you can also unmute yourselves and share, how did you hear about us? Candy, how did you hear about us?
Someone in your group just now told me about you this morning and sent me the Zoom link to join.
You could say my name. We're not anonymous.
It's not a 12-step group. Oh, how awesome. How awesome. So are you a student of A Course in Miracles?
No, I'm not.
No? Okay. So what about this appealed to you when your friend shared it with you?
Well, she just shared me the link. And so, I mean, like 15 minutes ago.
Oh, so you may not even know what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just sent it to her, Laina.
All right. So Lisa, then let me ask you, why do you think Candy would be a good candidate for listening to this conversation?
She is on a very similar spiritual path as myself. Okay. And she is very concerned about what's going on in the world today. And, I had just sent her some information that you guys post on the awakening, or is it awakening sovereignty or aligning sovereignty?
I've changed the name to it. Yeah, accessing sovereignty.
Accessing. Yes. So I shared some information with her, and I let her know that this group is very like-minded. So I told her to just jump on to see what she might get out of it.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. So it's always fun having people who are brand new to Course in Miracles. So that helps me. And what about whoever is on iPad, area code 413? Can you unmute yourself and just let us know, how did you hear about us? This helps me when I know where people's levels of Course in Miracles is, or understanding of what's going on in the world, so that I can make sure that I always address everybody. So whoever is at iPad, I'm currently asking you to unmute. So
it's probably Mom.
Hey, am I unmuted?
Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. So it's you, Dondra.
I'm on an iPad. It's got a different number from what you were saying, but I'm on iPad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see only the number that it shows on here, and it starts with area code 413.
No,
all right.
I'm 413 now. Oh, whatever.
No worries. So I'm renaming you so we know who it is. Well, welcome everybody. I am so excited to have you all here. And it's just a lot of fun. We're going to get into, I did a visual. I'm going to explain this visual in a minute, because I love visuals and simplifying what's going on. Also, I want to let you all know that because the conversations inside of the chat group that was originally, I had titled it Ascension with A Course in Miracles, but the conversation really shifted to people sharing, rightfully so, information about what's going on in the world, because we are beings that are willing to look at what's happening and experience what's going on inside of us, and then deal with what's happening from a place of responding to it and not just reacting to it. And inside of that group, I felt that the A Course in Miracles information was getting lost. So I went ahead and created a new channel, and it is going to be strictly about A Course in Miracles. All of the classes, I've already posted in there all the classes that I've done thus far, in this series, as well as other videos that I have created that got specific topics. And also from time to time, I get inspired to share a message that I feel consciousness of Jesus is prompting me to share a reminder to everybody that we are the light of the world. So you'll be able to go there and just basically get information from A Course in Miracles. And I am posting this to everybody. That's a new Telegram channel. I've just put the link in the chat. So please go ahead and grab it from there. And it's a channel. So I am posting specific videos, specific information about the course, and then you can comment on that information in the chat part of it. What that means is that the channel will stay very clean because it will have everything in the order in which I post it. The channel won't have your chat in it. The chat happens inside of each individual post. So it'll be super easy. For example, if you say, you know, I want to learn more about, or I want to watch this conversation that we have today. And today's episode is going to be, I believe today's will be 34. Well, you can easily find 34 and you'll be able to see all the other posts before this from 1 to 34, except for number 5, which is the one that YouTube censored because I was talking truth. And of course, YouTube censors truth. But anyways, also in that chat group, I want you to talk about what comes up for you around A Course in Miracles. I really want that to be a conversation about how do we make A Course in Miracles practical in our lives. Now, I cannot be answering every single comment in there. It's going to be impossible. So you guys are going to be having conversations with each other that has to do with how can I apply this Course in Miracles teaching to my life? And then you share how you did it. So it's more of a community helping each other to support each other in embodying what A Course in Miracles is all about. I firmly believe that we are at a time right now that we are being called into picking a side. And Course in Miracles teaches us about the two sides that we can pick. And one is with the ego, one is with God. They're just not any other sides. And that also means that you've got to pick truth or illusion. You've got to pick love or fear. That's it. There's nothing else. Once the mind gets trained into understanding truth, the more that you get clear about the truth and you begin to embody it, you will begin to find your sovereignty. And your sovereignty is the only thing that is going to set you free. And that is because you're accepting how God created you. So really, in essence, what sets you free is accepting that God created you powerful, whole, perfect, complete, and absolutely sovereign. So what that means is that when you see things you don't like, you need to empower yourself. And I'm talking very forcefully here because I really mean it. You are the dreamer of your dream, which is the title of today's conversation. You are the dreamer of the illusion that you're in. And the illusion that you're in is the illusion that you are powerless, that the illusion that you somehow can be controllable by something external. That is the illusion. The world out there has been created, as the Course teaches us, by our desire before we even incarnate to have an experience with the world, to have an experience with what it's like to be here and be somehow of this world. Well, it's an illusion that you belong to the world. It's an illusion that anything outside of you has power over you. But the mind has been trained and conditioned into powerlessness. And when we give our power away to fake authorities, we create, these authorities out of mother, father, teacher, preacher, because that's how we were all indoctrinated. We were all raised into giving our power away. And those of you who are my generation, you know that we were even taught in a TV show, Father Knows Best. Males know better. So the mind has been corrupted And if there is a virus, and I assure you there is the virus in the mind, is the virus of insanity, of lies, of ego. So we have to understand what's going on in our mind so we can clear the confusion. And I'm actually in that Telegram chat. I did a video. It was about a year and a half ago. It was in 2020. And I titled it The Power of Confusion. And I spoke then of the confusion that we were experiencing because we were seeing these crazy mandates and lockdowns and forcing us to take things that we didn't want to take. And in that confusion, which is why I titled it The Power of Confusion, if you take the confusion and you empower yourself with a desire to find clarity, you will be guided to make sense of the insanity. And until you make sense of the insanity, you're not sane yourself, because only the sane can observe the insanity and have compassion for it and can understand it and can see it for what it is and not be afraid of it. And I'm going to show you with this visual. I started it right here. What's happening today and what must be done to awaken. We've got to get clear that we are the dreamer of the dream, which means we are the hero of our own journey. We are the savior we've been waiting for. So before we get into that conversation, welcoming those who are new to us today, and I want to just let you know that the Tuesday nights where we were going to meet every other, well, the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, we're not getting the people participating live, but I'm getting a lot of calls about, can we do it on Zoom? I want to join you on Zoom. So it is going to just be Zoom only. And anybody who is local that wants to get together, let's do it socially. And that way we don't prevent those Zoom conversations from happening. So the distinction between Wednesday's conversation, this is me sharing information from the Course in Miracles, teaching you. That's really what this is about. I am taking material from the Course, breaking it down, making it applicable so that you can see the insanity in this world that is going to get darker. I don't know if you've heard the term Red October. It's going to get hot, very hot. And if you are not grounded in the truth of who you are, you're going to feel like you're going to be melting, like you're going to get swept away in the insanity, like you're going to lose your bearings, and you're going to experience a lot of fear. If you're not grounded in truth, then you do not know how powerful you are and how sovereign you are, and you're dreaming the dream in which you are scared. If you take these teachings from A Course in Miracles that I am sharing with you, be it through these Wednesday calls or all the videos that I put on YouTube, and now I'm going to put them in that one channel, and I put the link here for that Telegram channel, you are going to feel an incredible shift if you take the teachings of A Course in Miracles and begin to apply them in your life. So Wednesdays, I'm sharing information with you on those Tuesday classes, and to keep up with the schedule, go to my website, lainaorlando.com, sign up for the newsletter so that you can get the information as it's posted. I'm changing my website a little bit, and so I'm not as consistent with my newsletters because I'm automating some things. I'm getting a lot of more people who are requesting information, and I got to automate it because I can't talk to everybody and reply personally to everybody. So Tuesdays are bring your questions, bring whatever's happening in your life. Let's create a community that we support each other. I will offer coaching during those Tuesday Zoom evening gatherings so that you can apply this material in your life. I want to empower you with how to live A Course in Miracles. That's why those are called Living A Course in Miracles. And this is strictly Ascension with A Course in Miracles. I want to ascend your awareness of what's possible, rise your awareness through offering teachings that you may be familiar with, and then I simplify so you can apply it, or it may be totally new. So you really are breaking the mental barrier and expanding your awareness of the truth that will set us free. So that's my share on that. So now I want to ask just a couple of you, and again, this is not to offer coaching here because we don't have time for that. I want to really focus on the material that I want to be sharing. But I want to get anybody who took what we talked about last week and you've applied it and you've noticed a shift in you. So please unmute yourself so that I can have you come and share. Kat, are you, there we go, Kat. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I actually wrote this down. It's in my bathroom. It's a sticky thing. It was that I don't know what is going to happen, but what's important is how I face it. Do I face it with love? And I added the word grace in there for me, love and grace, or fear. So I'm going to that constantly. No matter what's going to happen, how do I face this? How do I deal with this? And do I come from loving myself and being gentle with myself and others, of course, to being scared and fear? And that has just served me a lot.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that share. I love that. Find your words. And I'm so glad that you did, because everybody resonates with different words at different levels of the journey. We resonate with different words. And it's not because one is better than another. It's just because some have a different meaning to us personally, based on our upbringing, based on anything that we have been conditioned to believe, to receive from the world. So who else would like to share?
I'll share. This is Lisa.
Hello, Miss Lisa.
You know, the one sentence that we talked about last week, I'm sticking notes all over the place, and it is, in my defensiveness, my safety lies. Because I am now aware of when I automatically get defenseless. That was not in my radar. And, you know, my ego was justifying what I was, quote, defending. And it wasn't till, you know, we talked this last time where I realized that it is defending. And the other thing you said too, to defend yourself is to defend your weak self.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's just been very powerful for me. So that's what I got. Thanks.
Love that, Lisa. Thank you so much for that. And here's why. When you are defending yourself, you're attempting to prove to somebody what it is that you're believing, because your ego is in the background saying, if I can convince them to agree with me, then what I am thinking will become true, which means you don't even believe it yourself. You got to get agreement for it to become true. This is how crazy our ego mind is. But when you are defenseless, you know your shit and you don't need anybody else to agree with it. You're grounded in your truth and you're comfortable in it. And if they take it, they take it. If they don't take it, who cares? And that level of comfort in what you believe in is how you know that you are safe in this world, because you have come to a place of activating the frequency of sovereignty. And the less you need agreement from the outside, the less you are beholden to the programming in your head, the freer you are to actually be your godly self, holy self, sovereign self, whatever word you want to use. God doesn't care. Source Spirit doesn't care what labels we put on things, because it knows what it is, and it's not defending itself and telling us, hey, my name is God. It doesn't do that because it knows what it is. And when we know what we are, powerful dreamers of a crazy dream, you don't need to defend your position. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. Anybody else? Let's take one more person if you want to share any integration of this information that we've been imparting. And whether we do it here in the call or you're doing it through just your own personal reading, or like coaching like Lisa and I do, because I only coach students of the Course in Miracles now. That's just the way my practice has shifted. All right, nobody else? Good, then let's get right in. Not good that you don't have something to share, but good that we'll just launch right into today's class, because I am super excited to share this with you. As I've said to you before, my inspiration comes in the shower, usually the day of the class. So I don't even know what we're going to be talking about unless we happen to be in a chapter. And I know we're going to continue, but how we're going to continue that, or ideas or inspirations to add to it, they typically come in the shower or as I'm setting up the lights and all this stuff to do the class. So I just wait for guidance. I don't plan what I'm going to teach you, because I trust that the perfect messages will come through and your questions will activate whatever source wants to say through me. So I'm going to take you to the text in A Course in Miracles. If you've got your Bible, your hymnal, your book, whatever you want to call the Course in Miracles for you, the dictionary, because it's got everything you could possibly, the truth of what you could possibly want to know in there. So we are going to look at chapter 27. And chapter 27 is called The Healing of the Dream. And I want you to be aware. Let me see, where is this page here? I want you to be aware as I teach from the Course what it is, where we are, and what's going on. The Course only has 31 chapters in the text. So to put things in context, reading from chapter 27 means I am reading from something very advanced in the Course. So if what I'm saying doesn't make sense or feels a little too woo-woo or too out there, it's simply because you don't have the foundation of the first 26 chapters. Now, to understand chapter 27, you don't need the foundation to come from A Course in Miracles. Your foundation can come from other studies that you have participated in, as long as they're studies of truth. Not what somebody thinks is true, but a message directly given from source through either channeled material or a person who has an experience and writes about that experience, because you can read the truth in it. Books that have been written like that are not channeled in the traditional sense that like Jesus spoke through that person or archangel or whatever, but their personal experience gets put into a book that gives us concise and simple steps. Like, for example, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. If you really understand the depths of that book, then what I'm going to share from chapter 27 will make sense. So I just want to make it really clear. Course in Miracles is not the only book that shares truth, but like all books that share truth, it is required that we understand the process that we have to go through to get to the level that we're going to talk about today. So inside of chapter 27, we're going to look at section number 7. And the title of this is The Dreamer of the Dream. Suffering is an emphasis upon all that the world has done to injure you. Now, this is really profound, because we've got to understand what this really means. Suffering, let me read it again. Suffering is an emphasis upon all that the world has done to injure you. When we consider ourselves a victim, we have participated in suffering, and the outer world, those people out there, injured me. Most people, I'm going to say the majority of humanity still, really live thinking that there is an outside force that is hurting them, have no self-awareness of the voice in their head that is actually hurting them. To get to the place that we understand that all power is inside of us, to even come to the place to understand that we're dreaming a dream, you've got to come to the place of getting comfortable with what Michael Singer speaks to, the roommate in your head. We have voices in our head talking to us all the time. And it's the voices in our head that tell us those people hurt me. So be really clear about that. If you believe something external is affecting you and you're suffering because the lover left you, you're suffering because the government raised your taxes, you're suffering because the government is mandating something you don't want, you're suffering because the police is not honoring the Constitution, you're suffering because somebody got sick or somebody died. If you're suffering because those things out there are hurting you, it is because you are listening to the voice in your head telling you those things are hurting you. If you didn't have a voice telling you those things are hurting you, those things would not be hurting you. So our agreement with what is happening without question about it is somebody who is completely unconscious and they are in the dream and don't even know they're dreaming. So I can see some of you, because you've got your cameras on. Can you shake your head, Kat, if this makes sense to you? Okay, and Rose. Okay, wonderful. So we have got to get really clear that the only way out of the insanity is to understand the commentator in our head. I just had a coaching session with one of you and we were talking about this. There is a commentator in your head. And I'm going to give the same analogy. When you are watching a sports game or you're watching the Olympics and you watch the performer, let's say the performer, let's go to the Olympics and go to gymnastics. I think that's the example that we were talking about in our coaching session. And you're watching gymnastics or anything, and the gymnast makes a mistake. Immediately, the commentator tells you, look at this mistake, that's going to cost them 20 points. And at the last performance, they did this perfectly. They landed that jump. And now this is going to cost them. This is going to keep them from going to the future Olympics. This is going to ruin their career. So the commentator tells us what happened in the past, how they did better then and they're not doing so well now, or they did poorly then. And oh my God, they just landed that shot just 3 weeks ago. They couldn't get it. So the commentator in the sports, whatever it is, competition, it doesn't matter what it is. You understand the commentator analogy. The commentator outside is directing you to think with it so that you are not actually present to what is happening. You can't have compassion. You can't have compassion for that person who fell, because now you find out, oh my gosh, this is going to ruin their career. Now you're worried about their career. You're not present to what's happening. Or they did what they did, and the commentator says, well, this jump was not as good as it had been before. So you can't be present to enjoying what is in the moment, whether it's somebody falling and you have compassion for them, whether it's somebody who landed something, a wonderful shot, and you can celebrate with them because the commentator is telling you, well, this shot is, or this landing is really good, but it's not as good as so-and-so's. So we are pulled out of our present moment awareness when we listen to the commentator. And because we listen to the commentator in our head, which is the ego, we listen to the commentator outside. The news people, they're commenting. They're giving you their perception about what's happening in the world, because for the most part, as I love our holy brother Trump taught us, that the fake media is simply commentating. They're giving you commentary on their opinion about what is happening. And when you understand that they get their commentary from the bosses who are paid to make sure that the one delivering the news is delivering the news that supports that particular corporation business, you are not hearing what is going on. You're hearing the commentary from somebody who passed it down to somebody who passed it down to somebody. And if that person is sharing commentary because they really believe it, you can feel, my God, they really believe that this is true. If, on the other hand, they're giving you information that doesn't resonate with you and you don't think is true, you feel like, okay, I should really be trusting them. After all, this is Walter Cronkite, however you say the name. And you override your mind and agree with what they're saying when you are not grounded in your own presence. The commentator in your head will tell you what to do, like the commentator is out there is telling you what to believe. So we have to understand that the only suffering that we ever experience comes from our interpretation of things. And it is not from somebody else telling you that's how it is. It's by your agreement with them, your disagreement with them. That is where all suffering stems from, is our head. Like our beautiful holy brother, Viktor Frankl, wrote so beautifully in his book, here is a man in the middle of the Holocaust. He is literally living the Nazi story, just as we are living in a newer version of the same story, because the ego repeats everything. Once you see that this has been done before, you begin to realize, wait a second, we keep repeating the same freaking dream over and over and over again until we learn the lesson. But Viktor Frankl told us pain is inevitable because the body is going to experience a physical pain, that while we believe these bodies are real and not that we're dreaming them, while we're believing that these bodies are real, and I don't want anybody to think that your body is an illusion until you are ready for that level of awareness. And we're in chapter 27. So remember, if some of this stuff doesn't make sense, don't let the commentator in your head tell you, oh, this doesn't make sense, let me turn it off. Just stay curious and receive. What resonates will stick with you. What doesn't resonate and you're not ready for, believe me, it will just be put aside until you're ready for that. But Viktor Frankl gave us a wonderful piece of advice. Pain is inevitable. If you're noticing the physical pain, let's address that. Let's correct that. Let's attend to that. But suffering is optional, because suffering comes from a mind interpreting, commenting on what is happening instead of being present to either aligning with it because it's true or making a shift of perception because it's not true. So back to this sentence, suffering is an emphasis upon all that the world has done to injure you. Very important things are being said. What the world, and when we're talking about the world in the Course in Miracles, we're talking about the outside, that out there. So let's read it this way. Suffering, my insanity, my fear, my discomfort is an emphasis inside of me about what's happening outside of me to injure me. So just get really clear that that's what it is saying. Big thing that I want you to understand is that if you believe the outside is injuring you, you are in that moment feeling victimized. You are in that moment saying, I don't have power. So when you accept that the outside can make you suffer, you are not in your sovereignty. You are not grounded in the truth of your power. In that moment that you say, you made me suffer, you gave your power away. Father knows best, government knows best, doctor knows best, pharmaceutical company knows best, boyfriend knows best, girlfriend knows best, boss knows best. If you are thinking you are suffering, you are listening to your ego mind. And I know I put a lot of emphasis on that, but if you don't get that and begin to accept that maybe there is truth to this, if this is new to you, you are not going to be able to be at peace as things get worse. And they have to get worse. As within, so without. No one reaches the place of inner peace without going through the turbulence of what kept you out of peace to begin with. We literally have to slay the dragons in our mind that have kept us from knowing how powerful we are. And that indoctrination has been going on forever. From the beginning of humankind, we've been listening to a voice in our head. Now, it hasn't been so bad. It wasn't always that bad. It was a voice in our head that helped us all work nicely together. The ego mind makes this experience of separation real. And that's a good thing that we're thinking it is real so that we can enjoy it. But when you're awake in the dream, as the Course says, you're creating a happy dream. We would all then be working together to collaborate and co-create and cooperate in a way that it's for the greater good of all. So let's go to sentence number 2. I know that was a lot to share about that, just that one specific sentence. So here is the world's demented version of salvation clearly shown. Let me read the next sentence so that those 3 will make more sense. Like to a dream of punishment in which the dreamer is unconscious of what brought on the attack against himself, he sees himself attacked unjustly and by something not himself. So Here is the world's demented version of salvation clearly shown. The world is crazy because we have agreed to participate in insanity when we believe that there is power outside of us. So here is the world's demented version of salvation. If you think you're going to be saved because somebody proposes, you're going to be saved because somebody promotes you to a new job, you're going to be saved because you got a lot of money, or the government mandates something for everybody, you think you're going to be saved, you are demented. And I love, Jesus is so cool with his words. Demented. It's a demented version. It's an insane version. It's a crazy version that we have been participating in for a very long time because we did not know any better. Our mothers and fathers, they didn't know any better. Their parents didn't know any better. We can go back generation after generation. We can get to Jesus's time, 2,000 years ago. And the dude was telling us that the kingdom of heaven is inside of us, that all power the Father gave us is within us, and that we need to go inside to achieve that power. And they crucified him because he was speaking truth, and the truth was very inconvenient for those who have been teaching us that power is outside of us. And we, because we go to their schools and we pay money, we pay taxes to the public school system, we pay taxes to be taught information, we pay our share, our 10% with the church for them to give us misinformation. We send our children to private schools where we pay to get misinformation. All of it to get us to believe something that is not true, that something outside of us has power over us. So we have got to get clear that we're insane if we think power is outside of us when clearly the power is within. And you only realize the power is within when you begin to use it consciously, and you begin to shift your perception about what's happening. You begin to shift how you show up in the world. Instead of reacting, you begin to respond. Instead of judging, you begin to get curious and question yourself. Say that again. I didn't understand it the first time. Until you move yourself out of this insanity that the power is outside of you, you will continue to experience the demented world's version of salvation, which is that it will take care of you. So then, of course, you think it is what saves you. So like to a dream of punishment in which the dreamer is unconscious of what brought on the attack against himself, he sees himself attacked unjustly and by something not himself. So if we are asleep, we think that something external hurt us. I was attacked by that, not realizing the amazing magnitude of what this dream is all about. And today I want to show you in a simple to understand way with my little colored people, I know Lisa loves them, how it is that we fell into this crazy illusion. And those of you who have been with me for a very long time, you've seen me draw this over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to, actually, let me finish reading this and then I'll go to the little colored people. So sentence number 4 in this section. He and he, she, you change those two. He is the victim of this something else, in quotes, a thing outside himself for which he has no reason to be held responsible. I'm not responsible for what she did to me. It's not my fault the government came after me. It's not my fault I got injured by this jab. It's not my fault I got fired. It's not my fault I got divorced. It's not my fault, my relationships fall apart. This is not my fault is ego trickery. Every single time you say something is not your fault, it's your fault. But not for you to blame yourself and shame yourself, but for you to take your power back and go into curiosity. Well, if this happened to me, what could I have done differently to have had a different outcome? The course is really clear. Cause and effect. You think it, you bring it about. That's how powerful we are. But we've been taught that we're not powerful, so that we give power away to somebody else. And now the somebody else has been using the power against us. And those of us who think that they take care of us are giving even more power to them. Those of us who are going, wait a second, that doesn't make sense anymore. I don't believe that story anymore, are saying, no, I'm taking my power back. So for us to take our power back, we cannot continue to blame that my suffering is because of you. We have to take 100% responsibility. And this is where the work of awakening is very uncomfortable, because we have to shift ourselves from being victims to becoming observers, to becoming curious and find out, why did this happen? Why does this pattern continue? Why, if this, then that? And begin to understand cause and effect. Because until you realize that the effect out there is caused by you in here, you will not fully own how freaking powerful you are. And that's when we claim our sovereignty, and we need to get in our sovereignty so that we can then cause the new effect that we want to see in the world, the new world that we want, not the new world order that they want for us, but the new world that is orderly, because it will be ordered by God's commands, that we love one another, that we be good to our neighbors. That new world, a new earth, a 5D world, whatever you want to call it. Again, labels don't matter. We make those things up. That new world that we want to experience, those new relationships, the new experience with government, the new experience with medicine, the effect of that being something that is wonderful and lovely can only come when we accept that we are the cause of it. Because as long as we agree with the old and say, yeah, you have power over me, you don't have power to harness your cause and create a new effect. So only those who are inside themselves taking 100% full responsibility with joy, with excitement, only those who do that can then come together to co-create. Because while you're fighting against what is, you can't be using your energy for co-creating what you prefer. Either you're pushing against what you don't want, or you're flowing with what you do want to co-create it. And then all the people connect with you that are vibing at that frequency. And again, with the little people, you're going to see how that happens. So let me read this next line. Sentence number 5. So he must be innocent because he knows not what he does, but what is done to him. So we got to take the word innocent here in 2 ways. When you go deep into the Course in Miracles, you understand that there's always 2 sides to everything. So we think we're innocent victims of what the outside world did to us. But the Holy Spirit, God, Jesus, those who are attempting to teach us, excuse me, to teach us truth, know that our innocence is always there, because we don't know what we're doing when we're asleep. Just as a little child having a nightmare, they don't know that they're causing the effect of a nightmare while they're asleep. They're asleep. So they're innocent in their awareness of causing something that creates discomfort. So God sees us as these little sleeping children that are dreaming a nightmare. And until we wake up, we are causing this nightmare to be a reality. But that still keeps us innocent, because we're the children of God. We're holy sons and daughters. We're souls having a human experience, or spirit, if you prefer to call it that, or energy, if you want to call it that. It's all interchangeable. You are that essence of love who lovingly chose to incarnate in planet insanity so that you could bring your light, wake up. Course tells us, I'm the light of the world. When you wake up, you then bring the light. A child has to wake up and turn the light on, or mom or dad turns the light before they can see clearly. Well, we are the light of the world that we've been waiting for to turn on so that we can then wake up. And so we can see the dream that we were dreaming. So none of us is going to get punished. Nobody gets punished for the insanity that we created by God. Our punishment is self-inflicted. So when you read the sentence here, let me read it again. He must be innocent because he knows not what he does. No, you don't. But what is done to him. So you're innocent in God's eyes, but at the same time, when you believe that you are a victim to the outside, I'm innocent, I didn't do it. You're giving your power away because you're not acknowledging you caused it, you created it. And you created it for a very specific experience. Why? Because the Course tells us everything is a lesson God would have us learn. Did you learn your lesson? If you didn't learn your lesson, you're going to repeat it. Why? Because the insanity of the ego has us repeat things, hoping that we get a different result. And if you don't come to the source of power in you, and that you are the cause of what's happening, you won't change your perception and get a different result, because you think you are at the effect of that out there that in truth we have caused. Now, people who are newer on their journey can hear this stuff from the Course in Miracles and get very offended. I didn't cause, the rape, and I didn't cause the murder, and I didn't cause these things. If we are reacting that way, we are so early on in the journey, we may not even be even aware that there is such a thing as a spiritual journey. That's okay. That's the reaction that is appropriate at that level of consciousness. If you are, like me, a student of truth and you want liberation, you have made a commitment to freedom no matter what, peace instead of anything else. When you make that decision that you only want to know what God knows is true about you, you must come to the place that you accept, as the Bible says, we are created in the image of God. If God is the infinite creator and we are created in its image, so it imagined us, it cannot make us other than like itself. Can a apple tree grow dolphins? Can a cat give birth to daisies? It does not happen. So you've got to get clear that made in the image of God, made in the image of the sovereign creator, made in the image of something that is infinite, that is eternal, that is omnipotent, omniscient. Oh, I just used a bunch of big words. Made in the image of that which is beyond our wildest human dreams, means that you must be like it. So we've got to begin to start getting curious about, wow, I got that much power? Oh my gosh. And then humble ourselves enough to learn how to use it appropriately. See, those who realize that we're made in the image of the creative source and we're powerful creators, but let their spiritualized ego take on the arrogance of I am the creator and I'm powerful and I can create whatever I want. When it comes from our spiritualized ego or just our ego that doesn't have any spiritual knowledge, it will use that power for itself. Course in Miracles is really clear. To come to that place of power, we can only feel its wonderful effects when we use it for the greater good of all. God extends to all its creations the same opportunity, because we're all created equal, to extend lovingly to what it creates. And when you create, when you make experiences in the world that come from love, true love, God love, Course in Miracles kind of love, you are just creating opportunities that elevate everybody. When you understand how the mind works, which is what psychology has done, and you use that understanding of how the mind works for mind control of other people who are ignorant of how the mind works, you're being very arrogant. I know it. I was one of those people, started understanding how my mind works. Oh my God, I'm the creator of my own reality. Well, now you're going to do what I want you to do in my reality. And then I went into this arrogance and started using my knowledge of the mind to begin to want to tell other people what they needed to do, because I knew that they didn't understand how powerful their mind was. Mostly I used that on my children and my husband until I began to move far along in my journey, that I began to realize, oh my gosh, that is not loving. But I had made a commitment to, I wanted truth all the way. I was moving on a path of only using my power in the way God intended, which meant not my will, but your will be done, creative source. So here it is telling us very simple, We're innocent in the eyes of God because, like a child that uses a knife when it's 3 years old and stabs, its sister or brother, it didn't know what it was doing. Excuse me a second. Let me. All right. So the parent forgives the child that didn't know any better and then teaches the child. But if the child, well, let's say the adult, stabs somebody and then goes around and says, I didn't do it, I'm innocent, I didn't do it, our court system is full of that. People who perpetrate what we call it crimes against each other, it's on film. Aren't you all aware of all the videos, all the audios, all the information, written information we have about all of our politicians who've committed crimes, and yet they claim that they're innocent? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So when you're delusional, you think you're innocent about the things that you did to hurt others because you get arrogant in thinking you got power to do something that they don't. When you become humble and acknowledge that your power is for the greater good of all, then you are in service to everybody because you understand we're all equal. This is why our Constitution states that we have the same inalienable rights given to us because we were created equal. Isn't that amazing to know? It's been written in our Constitution for 250 years, and we still don't operate as if that is the governing truth, which is what this country was founded to ensure, which is what the government was created to protect. And if we don't like what they're doing, we get to say, you're not following that we're all equal, so it's time for us to remove this power from you. And we don't really give them, the Constitution doesn't say that we give them power. They're just administrators of ensuring we maintain our power. But we have been conditioned into believing they have the power because they write the laws and tell us then what we get to do, that we have totally, completely given our power away. But we're not innocent of doing that. We need to be clear that we gave our power away, but God knows that we're innocent and won't punish us because we created our own hell when we gave our power away. So the next sentence 6, yet in his own attack upon himself, apparent still, for it is he who bears the suffering. Yet is his own attack upon himself, apparent still. We are the recipients of having given our power away because we got conditioned from a very young age. Don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. Stop feeling that way. You can't do this, you have to do that. 12 years, 14 years, 16 years, 20 years of indoctrination in the school system that basically has been preparing us for the corporate world, where we literally, just like in jail, you give your power away to the warden, to the principal, to the teacher, and you go into your little room like you do in jail, and you stay in that room. You don't come out till the bell rings. You don't go out of your jail cell till the bell rings. You can't go have lunch when you're in jail until they tell you that it's lunchtime. In school, you can't go have lunch until it's lunchtime. If you go have lunch before it's lunchtime, you're going to go to the principal, you're going to go to the warden, and your punishment's going to get worse. And if you don't follow the rules, you're going to go to solitary confinement in the jail, or you're going to go see the principal by yourself, solitary confinement, and they're going to paddle your ass. Like I got some of that. I don't know, some of you got that when you were younger. So anyways, the indoctrination process is a very deliberate process because we have participated in the insanity. When we enter into human planet, crazy planet, we enter coming here knowing we're bringing light. We are born into a family. We forget the truth of who we are. We get conditioned into this empowerment, and we have the light inside of us. That's why the kingdom of heaven is inside, but we don't use it to turn the light on and see clearly what's been happening in our delusion, in our darkness. What is outside of us takes full, complete advantage of us. Again, not because they are somehow more powerful than we are, but because we agree that they have our power, which disempowers us. Yes, all of us have equal power. We just have to exercise it. We just have to activate our throat chakra. We have to speak it, but you can't speak it until from your root chakra, you ground yourself in knowing how magnificent you are, clean up all that emotional trauma from childhood, clean up all the ways that you block yourself from extending love and extending your light, and then work all that stuff out and speak it through your heart chakra. I'm sorry, through your throat chakra. But to do all of that, you've got to call in the divine light from your upper chakras. You've got to call in the power of God, the power, the essence, the truth of all that we are, because we're inside of God as much as God is inside of us. So we call it in and begin the purification process of our mind, begin the process of receiving truth, and then integrate it in such a way that we, through our third eye, begin to see the truth, because we're seeing with that which is true inside of us. And that integration, that process, is something that the Course has been bringing us to the previous 26 chapters, so that we can understand what it is being said here. So you don't make yourself shame yourself and blame yourself. Oh my God, I was a victim. I gave my power away. Don't do that. Here's what I want you to do. Oh my God, I had a lot of power, but I was unaware that I had that power. So I gave it away because I got trained by people who wanted my power so that they could have power over me. And I did what I did because it's what I had to do so that mommy and daddy would love me. But now that I know that I can love myself enough to say, no, I'm not going to give my power away. I'm going to harness my power by waking it up inside of me, thanking God he hid the power inside of me so nobody can take it from me. Now that I am activating the truth of what I know I am, because I'm accessing higher knowledge, I'm moving through the healing that is necessary and bringing myself back into wholeness so that I can stop saying, oh, mommy hurt me, daddy hurt me, this person hurt me, so that I stop blaming others and harness the truth of who I am. I will stop hurting when I accept my wholeness. That's not an easy journey, but we better get to that journey pretty quickly, because if we don't stand in our sovereignty, we're going to continue to experience more of the insanity that is causing so much suffering on the planet. So let me read the last sentence. Sentence 7. And he cannot escape because its source is seen outside himself. Does that make sense? If you think your power is outside yourself, the source of your happiness is outside of yourself, you're going to suffer because the outside is not interested in you. It only cares about itself if it is attempting to take power away. Anybody who attempts to take power from a holy sovereign being is in the delusional idea that they matter more than anybody else. Pure greed, pure selfishness, pure arrogance, that is what happens when we get all up in our head thinking that we are better, we are special, we are somehow in the 1%. And then those who get relegated to the 99% of disempowered people, we go into the victim mode. So those bullies need us to be their victims for their game to be real. When the victims begin to unplug, those bullies have nobody to bully. And that's what changes what's happening in the world. So before I play with the little people, oh my God, I can't wait to show you this. Oh, when the visual came to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot get over these amazing visuals that I get. So please unmute yourself and share. Did this make sense? Did you get an aha? Are you confused? And we need a little bit more clarity before we play with the little people or the colored people. They're not just little people. Please unmute yourself or raise your hand and I'll make sure that I mute you. Did this make sense? I would like a little participation.
Hi, Laina.
Hello, Miss Kathy.
Thank you. I would say that this is, for me, is exactly what I need in this now moment, that it speaks very loudly to the recognition of the idea that there's some way to be happy and fulfilled other than getting that from our inner knowing and just releasing that and knowing that that's just not true. All happiness, all security, all safety comes from within. So that's
I was thinking about you. I was thinking about you, sister, as these words were flowing through my mouth.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has to be across the board. We cannot say that this is my truth when it comes to government, or this is my truth when it comes to family, or this is my truth when it comes to job, or when it comes to children, or when it comes to partner. It has to be our truth consistently with everybody, because when we're consistently in our sovereignty with everybody, we see everybody as sovereign as well. And then we don't take on that, however they take whatever it is that's happening, their effects are caused by them. And when we can be grounded in our truth, we really will support more productively others in finding their truth. That's why we have to be the hero of our journey. We can't do it for anybody else, but it is the example of how we got to realizing that we're the dreamer of our own dream, that then leaves the breadcrumbs for others to follow in those footsteps, but we cannot do it for them. But we got to do it for us. Thank you so much for that, Kathy. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So if nobody else, I don't see anybody else unmuting or raising hand. All right. Let's go to the example with the colored people. Lisa, I always think about you because you tell me how much you like the visuals with these little characters.
I love them. Thank you.
All right. So before I go there, let's go here. Is everybody, can you guys see that okay? So what this is to understand, you got to be empowered. You got to have the power of the awareness of the truth of who you are. A powerful being who comes in from an expanded state of consciousness, one with all that is. We make the decision to incarnate. We do this from our sense of enlightenment, and we little by little descend as the world begins to train us. We flow with what the world teaches us, and we begin to descend until we become so finitely defined to who we are that we contract ourselves. This is expansion. From an expanded place, we make a choice to come into a contraction. I am just me. Instead of being all one with all that is, I am just Laina. Latanya is just Latanya. And if I treat her like she is separate from me, and I believe in the indoctrination that she can somehow hurt me or she can somehow help me, then I'm going to live my life in a transactional basis with her, because fear will get activated that if I don't do what she wants or she doesn't do what I want, I'm not going to be happy. I'm somehow going to lose my freedom. So we enter into transactional love. This is conditional love, codependency, when we are so far deep into the story of forgetting the truth of who we are, and we operate in strict survival for about me, because you potentially can take from me what I need, and then I'm going to be nice and manipulative if you have what I want. So that's what happens to all of us. We all do it. It's part of the human experience. It's part of the dream. It's a dream that we enter into separation, but it doesn't have to be a nightmare. We've turned it into a nightmare, and this is how. So we are all beautiful beings born from the light, and we come in and we start getting indoctrinated. The green color is just a little darker. We're not light anymore. We're not dark in the ego. We begin to little by little change our perception about ourselves, and we then descend into the darkness, and more people in humanity have descended into darkness. Those who go all the way down, and you've seen in the chart, the map of consciousness, all the way down to evil. And evil is no different than ego. It's no different than, you could call it Satan, you can call it devil. It just means that you are so far down into your idea that you're finite, but you know how the mind works. So you use your mind to manipulate other minds, and you pull them into your wicked web, which is what the ego weaves. So when we descend, whatever incarnation it is that we're supposed to be evil, and we all take a turn at that, we move down here and we slowly indoctrinate the people so that humanity, eventually, all of humanity is operating at this disempowered state. Oh my, it looks like a Christmas tree. Okay, cool. So we get pulled down into becoming minions of the very few, 1%, 99%, because those who attempt to have power over others is such a small number of people, really, truly, in the kind of power that really hurts others, that doesn't care, that it's itself and only itself. It's a very small percentage because we are naturally loving beings. But when we disconnect from the truth of our love, we little by little descend into the place where we are completely susceptible to believing that these few are the ones who have what we want. This is why we have been conditioned into worshiping celebrity. Celebrity gets the big bucks so that we can see them as high and mighty. And then what does the media do? They paint a picture of this incredible lifestyle. They are special and you're not. So that we will do everything we can to become like them. So we'll buy all the courses necessary to become like this celebrity, so that we'll buy all the clothes that they wear. The Kardashians come out with something. We got to have that because our mind has been conditioned into thinking that there are very few special people. And if we could only wear the same kind of lipstick that they wear, then we might be a little special. But of course, you take that lipstick off and you're you again, and you stay in your misery, because down here you are so disempowered. Your mind is not your mind, it's under mind control. And inside of being under mind control, you are willing to do whatever it takes to protect your jailers. You defend them. Today, we are watching that. We're watching people defend the government, defend the science, defend the this, the that, the other. They told me so. Because see, these people, the 1%, know how to manipulate us. And it's through media, it's through who they have painted as the authority. So this world of the ego is a world that's upside down. You see how different that is? The world of God, right side up, we expand up. The world of the ego, we expand down. And we think we're expanding, and the expansion is not internal, it's more people. It's everything is backwards. The Course tells us the ego is upside down, inside out, totally, completely backwards. So this is what we need to really understand about what's happening right now. 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, Buddha did it. We've had lots of teachers who come in. We have a brave soul that descends and holds their light pretty well. Maybe they might get a little bit off, moves a little bit into ego land, and everybody has an ego that enters into the crazy planet. So a brilliant one will descend and reach the masses and begins to tell them a tale of how they can ascend into the truth of who they are, change who they're thinking, and escape what's going on. Well, you all know what happened to Jesus. These people didn't like that he was telling this many people how to free themselves. So what did they do? They got rid of them. Because when Jesus began to activate, after he had his baptism in the River Jordan and began to activate the truth of who he is, he shifted from somebody who was just talking, saying truth, to becoming somebody who was so enlightened, reclaimed his light. I'm reading Books Channel by Jesus, and he says, I am no different than you. I had to clean up my ego mind. I just didn't go as far down into ego as you did. Then I remember that I and the Father are one. And he stood among the masses, and he taught the truth of who he is. All right, to make this stand up a little taller, I had to put some cans. That's what fell, was my cans of corn. So I'll have to raise this when I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. So anyhow, Jesus came in from here, expanded, brought the expansion down into the contraction, and they got rid of him. He was telling too many people that they could move up, that they could escape the insanity. Well, that's not convenient for those who are attempting to oppress humanity. So what has happened to us is that Jesus left enough clues. Jesus taught us the way to get up there. And a few brave souls have been learning from Jesus and have little by little been increasing their awareness, doing the work, moving through the levels of consciousness, and little by little, changing their perception about who they are, coming to the place that they are few. I mean, this is the few, but are beginning to really get very clear about the essence of the truth that is inside of them and in everybody else. And as those of us, and I consider myself among those who have done this, because if I can do it, anybody can, moves beyond the noise in the world, moves to a place, if this was up here, if my cans of corn hadn't fallen, you would see that you begin to move into the age of reason, because you have the courage, which is right here, you have the courage to begin the ascension process, and you begin to rise into the awareness of the truth of who you are. And then you begin to shift and you begin to climb into the ascension of who you are. What is happening? Well, before I go there, Lisa, I want you to tell me, does this make sense?
Absolutely. I just came in a little bit because of my indoctrination. I went pretty far down where the masses are.
Yeah. However, you came in with enough awareness that there's got to be another way, because you came into this lifetime with a level of holding the frequency of the truth of who you are in such a way that it would call you back before you had to die, before you had to have the death experience. And you knew you would wake up in this lifetime. So we are forging a path for others to follow. This is what it's going to take for humanity to wake up. Those of us who right there in the midst of the craziness are becoming gentle. We are becoming really clear that I create my own reality. I am the cause of the effect. Instead of arguing with these people who they don't want to hear you because you're scaring them, you are showing them something that they are not aware of. In this one book that I'm reading that Jesus channeled, he said, I could sense when I was sharing how powerful these people are. I could sense their fear of what could happen to them if somebody found out that they were powerful like that. It scared the heck out of them. And they were afraid in those days. Everybody got crucified that did horrible things, or not horrible things, went against the government. They didn't want to get crucified. But Jesus, who knew who he was, because he had already achieved that high frequency and was among the masses as the living light, he knew, I'm not a body, I'm free. You can crucify this body, but I'm going to keep coming to you and talking to you. 25 or 2,000 years later, he's still channeling information. Nobody killed him. The body was laid aside, as the Course tells us. Once you know that your mission on this planet is complete, you lay the body aside. And one day, when we are that aligned with the truth of who we are, we will consciously say, okay, today's the day that I want to transition. We won't need cancer. We won't need, a jab, poison. We won't need that. We won't have to jump off a bridge. We will just decide that, okay, I'm complete. But Jesus knew he was here on a mission because he was doing something for the greater good of all. That's a difference. If you are in total alignment with the truth of who you are, what you do is for the greater good of all. When you are in alignment with your ego is your master, it's for what's in the greater good of me. Selfishness, pure greed happens here. This is why those who begin to accumulate power and wealth, who are in service to self, there's never enough. It's insatiable, because they're searching for happiness or searching for joy, for safety outside of themselves. And because they have the power and the tentacles to reach into everybody's pockets, they will continue to do it. If politicians were there really truly to serve, they would go in as they used to, serve 1 term, 2 terms, and they would leave and live under their own laws. But because they're in service to self, they have to stay there, and they change things, they cheat, they do whatever they need to do to stay, because they know that they couldn't make as much as they make outside of having the power to enforce things upon others that they don't force upon themselves. So we got to wake up, people. All right. So how is this going to happen? What's happening right now? What's happening right now? This is so exciting. Is that those of us who are doing our work, look at how many people I get to touch. I've touched thousands of people in my 15, 16 years of teaching. Well, along the way of me teaching, there's been a trail of other people who have been impacted. And as they get impacted, now there are more of us who are moving in the direction of coming into the light. And I won't give myself a yellow because I am not 100% as Jesus was. I'm still on my journey. I'm moving through my layers of consciousness. I know where I am and I know where I need to go. But I still, from this level of having expanded my consciousness enough, look at all the people that I have been sharing stuff with. Guess what you guys are doing? Those of you who are here, teachers and coaches, those of you who are embodying this in your own families, even if you're not a teacher and a coach, you're doing this in your family. Guess what you've done? You inspired another one, and you inspired another one. How many of us have seen people who were stuck in their disempowerment go, oh my gosh, what you said makes sense. Maybe after a battle for 5, 10 years, all of a sudden they're like, you're so peaceful. I need a piece of that. So what is happening today is that there is enough light on the planet that we are causing the effect of a bifurcation. Bifurcation is a separation. What is happening is that these people can't control the masses like they could, because instead of coming down to disempowerment, we are rising. This is what, watch this, is going to get really cool. We are rising to a higher frequency. And as we rise to a higher frequency, God is saying, all right, you people are ready to have the planet go through a massive shift. You are ready to now experience something really dramatic, biblical proportions. So what are we in the middle of? A storm, a mighty storm. And this is what's happening. Those who are seeing that, oh my gosh, they've got less people to control, are wigging out. So they pulled in the big guns. They pulled in the virus, they pulled in mandates, they pulled in those things to try and scare the masses. They still have enough that will do that. So what's happening is those who are going to stay in fear because they gave their power outside of them, they are getting really grounded. Aren't you hearing that from people that you love? They are very grounded in how horrible we are. We don't care about them. So what is happening is we got some people kind of in the middle that are iffy, and all that it will take for them to begin to change their mind is for those of us who can lovingly, without judging them, without attacking them, without blaming them, begin to have conversations one-on-one, live your life and be peaceful. Person at the checkout who is in terror is going to say, how can you be so peaceful when the grocery store is practically empty and you just got one can of corn? I got a few here. You got one can of corn and you seem so happy. I'm so stressed out because at the end of my shift, there's nothing on the shelves. I'm afraid because I'm watching what's happening with the food. I'm watching what's happening with energy in Europe, because Europe, it's like a wave coming to America. So as we are here, finding our voice and standing our ground little by little, we're going to have a group of people kind of in the middle that are, they're not attacking, they're not blaming, they're not fully grounded in the truth. You might be there, but the world is separating. There is a big division taking place, and we have to make a choice. Are we going to step towards the light, Or are we going to descend out of fear? This is only out of fear. Are we going to descend into the darkness? A new earth is being created. I'm part of a group that there's ideas about creating communities. I'm going to be watching a video or participate in a Zoom where they're explaining what they're doing, people coming together, pulling their resources. They want to be in community because at this frequency, this is not interesting. At this frequency, you're not going to go to a regular doctor that's going to give you a one-size-fits-all jab or pill. You're just not going to do that. At this frequency, you are the cause of your experience. And if you want to create knowing that you want to participate in something that's for the greater good of all, that you want to cooperate and collaborate, you will attract, law of attraction, like-minded people who will come together with you. You want holistic doctors? There's going to be one in there. You want a grow your own food? There's going to be a farmer in the neighborhood that wants to grow the food for you. You want to be the coach or the Reiki master, or you want to be the attorney that assists these people with dealing with some of the lawsuits with the world. You're going to be that attorney that brings consciousness. You love teaching children. You're going to start the school for those who are there. And the sharing of resources will return us to heaven on earth. We will experience paradise. This new earth is happening. And this old earth is beginning to contract. Why? Because consciousness, as I've said to you before, in its infinite intelligence, knows that the contraction is temporary. You're supposed to feel it for a little bit, and then that pushes you up. Because consciousness seeks expansion, the Course tells us, love just wants to extend itself. Because love is so contracted and not playing in the game of sharing and caring about others, we are being forced in a good way to have to face all of the ways that we made this a reality. We gave our power away. We sent our children to school to get indoctrinated. We got to acknowledge that. Children that are being abused, pedophilia, we have paid the taxes that allow some of these powerful politicians to get away with never being convicted for that. Don't you think that in this world of so much technology, if we can get rid of a president on social media, but yet we can't get rid of the pedophilia, that makes no sense. Makes no sense. And it makes no sense to one who has found their inner sense and have found their innocence again. And in our innocence, because we have gone to our inside sensibilities, we can see that this is not okay. Not to judge it and attack it, but so that we finally agree with what the Course is attempting to show us right here. Let me read this again. Suffering is an emphasis upon all that the world has done to injure you. That's the first sentence in that section. When you are done with suffering, when you have had enough, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you say there's got to be another way, and you begin the path of ascension, you begin the path of training your mind to think with God, and you decide not my will, but God's be done, that's a path that requires an incredible amount of courage, which is why courage is here in the middle. And not everybody's going to have the courage to ascend. It is not our job to judge them because they're innocent in the eyes of God. They're souls that want to play that role. And here's the beautiful thing about the darkness. It's not real because it's just in their mind. And they go that dark because they are being given the promise of something better because they don't know that which is the absolute best, the absolute greatest, because they haven't felt it inside of them. Judging them, I got the lawnmower people, judging them doesn't help them wake up, but rather reminding them, brother, you could see peace instead of this. Have you read this information? Have you checked this out? If they don't want to hear it, the loving thing to do is to leave them alone. They're causing the effect that although it's unconscious to them right now, at a soul level, they need, because they're not sick and tired of being sick and tired yet. And what is going to show who is loving and who is in fear is those who can begin to lovingly accept, respect those who are in fear. Because if you're going to believe that you're a powerful creator, you won't be able to sustain that without getting all judgmental and arrogant about it and spiritualizing your ego. You won't be able to experience the truth that you're a powerful creator if you see them as victims and not powerful. Truth is truth is truth, and it's consistent for all. These are powerful creators. These people who went to the 1%, what an incredible role they're playing for the rest of us. Their arrogance, their total and complete shutting off their heart and living only from their head to descend into that role was necessary to push all the people that are getting pushed. And you know what's going to happen here? Pretty soon, it will not take us that long. We are on the verge of seeing this happen. Pretty soon, a bunch of these people are going to, I need more colored people, they're down here. A bunch of these people are going to exit the planet. They're just going to leave. They're going to die off. They're going to go away because in their fear, they have given their power to their physical vessel to somebody else who is interested in world domination, in depopulation. So these people, a lot of these people are going to go away. And you know what's going to happen? Those souls are going to be born, and they're going to be bringing in more light. They're going to be bringing in more light to the planet. So when you see the volunteers that are going to be exiting, whether they got a jab or not, these volunteers in the game of that we call life, in the powerful game that the infinite creator of all that is gets to play, and each and every one of us is a piece of that creative puzzle, a piece of the fabric that is being woven to create a magnificent tapestry. When we understand that everybody's playing the role that they're playing, and it is absolutely necessary. Because if my former husband didn't go as dark and narcissistic as he did, I would not have seen my spiritualized ego that wanted him to change instead of me fully accepting my power and moving out of that and into a place where I drew a line in the sand and said, I'm not putting up with this because I love myself too much to not experience what honors me. That's what we need to do. Love ourselves too much to not accept being in judgment of anybody else. Because if you're judging, you're bringing yourself down in frequency. If you're judging, you're coming down here to places of pride. Pride is wonderful when you're rising. Pride doesn't serve you when you are reaching higher places of understanding of our equality. So with the colored people that came to me in the shower, that visual, I now want to complete the reading of this one section. We are the dreamers of the dream. We dreamt the dream, came down, did what we did for thousands of years. Now we're co-creating a different dream. Instead of a dream of suffering, where power's outside of us, we're creating a dream of a happy dream, as the Course calls it, powers inside of us. And when you acknowledge powers in you and it's in everybody else, then we will co-create heaven on earth. When we are believing powers outside of us, these bullies, these victims, they need each other. So stop trying to get people to not be a victim or not be a bully. They're doing you a favor. They're helping you see what you no longer want to participate in. And when you can love them, oh, wow, thank you, grateful. I so appreciate this incredible opportunity to see how easily I would have judged you. You increase your ability to be more loving. There is absolutely no wishy-washiness here. You're in fear because you don't know you're sovereign, creator of your own reality. Everything you want is already inside of you. If you don't know that, of course you're in fear. The world is crumbling. The stock market is crashing. The food's not coming to the shelves. The doctors are trying to poison you. The government is trying to trick you. You know, the social media won't let you post something because it's contrary to what their narrative. Your world is falling apart. You lost your job. You lost your income. You can't pay the bills now because you're trying to be in integrity and to not lose your job and be able to feed your family. You're taking a job that you don't want to, so you're out of integrity with yourself. A lot of suffering, a lot of anxiety happening down here. These people don't need our judgment, they need our compassion. They need our awareness that they're powerful creators creating what they're creating. And then from that place, hold the vision of them finding their light. Hold them in your consciousness. Spend as much time holding people in your awareness and seeing them rising as we do, as seeing them, crazy. And as we get really clear that we draw that line in the sand and we are only going to love everybody, no matter what they're doing. When we do that, we come into our full sovereignty. We come into the place where God can now use us to be in service to the greater good of all. While we're doing things our way, we are very far from God. When our way is to align with God, we will be used in ways that are beyond our wildest imagination, because we cannot imagine the expansiveness of what's possible when we are co-creating, because we've only known the limited that's possible when we are in contraction. In contraction, only a few could become the celebrities. And then so many of those celebrities got blackmailed so that now they cannot even be free to speak their truth. A few are leaving, a few are rising. Do you really want a world that the ego created, or do you want something that you can't fathom? Well, if you want a world that is expansive, you cannot possibly know what's possible when all you've known is what is. So you've got to let your mind relax. God, I don't know what I don't know. Let me stay curious. What would you have me do? That requires an incredible amount of humbleness. It requires that you be willing to sit with the fear that comes up. Oh, that fear. Oh, it's a contraction. It's a limitation. And you know it's a contraction because you close off. Well, if I didn't have that fear, what would open up? God, inspire my mind with ideas. Let me talk to somebody that I know is at a higher frequency or the same frequency, but they can hold it better than I can. Let me read a book that will inspire me. Let me go watch a video that will totally, completely change my mood. Let me listen to music that is uplifting. Let me take a walk in the woods. Let me go by the ocean and just let the sound of the waves be the only thing I'm focused on. We have every tool available at our disposal to shift and lift out of the insanity. Are we using it? That's the question. And the Course in Miracles tells us very clearly in an earlier chapter that if you want to shift your relationships, with yourself and with the world and with God, you must be clear about what you want and then move only in that direction. The days of being spiritual and going up and down, and I'm spiritual, but I'm judging now, and I'm spiritual, and I've got a spiritualized ego. Those days of being wishy-washy are over. You're either loving or you're judging, period. You're either in faith or you're in fear, period. You're either free or you're a slave, period. You're doing God's will or the ego's, period. You've come inside or you are getting your orders from the outside, period. That line in the sand is necessary because we are entering what we have been in since 2012. The Mayans, we thought it was the end of the world. No, it was the beginning of a new world, but it was the end, the beginning of the end of the old world. These ways are not going to continue because the children that are coming in are not going to put up with that nonsense. So these systems are going to fall away. And if you're not doing it on your own, those systems are going to do it for you, because the hospitals are going to close down. They're not going to see you because they got people quitting. They have people dying who took the jabs. The grocery stores, the restaurants, they don't want to see you there if you didn't take the jab. So they're going to shut down because they're not going to have enough business to sustain them. Very short-sighted. The ego's so stupid. The Course makes it really clear. It's insane. It's so stupid that eventually it will take itself to its own demise. Why? As these people die off, they're going to come in at a higher level of frequency. Eventually, these that went the darkest are going to find themselves all alone with not too many to rule. And then guess what? When there's very few of them and all there is all this light, you know, all these people are going to die off from the jab. Guess what happens to those that are left? They will have no choice. All this light will surround them because love will little by little begin. Well, they'll get a little lighter, and over time, they will begin to, just like the rest of us, return to the light. They will be consumed by the light, because the light, like when you walk into a dark room and you turn the light on, light makes the darkness go away. But first it exposes what was hiding. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a little bit more clarity. I know it went longer than I normally do. And if you had to drop off, well, you'll be able to see the video and join my Telegram channel, because that's really where I want to focus conversations about A Course in Miracles for the community, and get on my newsletter, and so that I have your email, because I'm revamping my newsletter. I'm revamping my courses. I'm going to have my courses available, especially the 365 lessons. I know, Lisa, you're waiting for that. It's going to be available to accompany you and support you on this journey. I have never found anything quite like the Course in Miracles that simplifies what we must do to wake up. And it gives us step by step by step. I know it's very difficult for a lot of people to read it. I simplify it for you. So if you will let me be your ascension coach, I will help you ascend through the insanity that is happening. But the insanity that is happening because since we didn't choose to see it on our own, the light of so many beings on this planet is illuminating the path for us that we cannot not see what's been going on. So let's open this up. I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts, comments? Please, everybody, unmute yourself. And I want to hear from you, that you get some nuggets from this conversation.
I totally did. It was actually wonderful. I've been so stressed out, and it was all just me doing it to myself. And I can clearly see where that is the case. You know, I'm just giving all my power away instead of just letting it be what it is, and just knowing that, you know, anyway, so I so appreciate what you do. It truly helped me immensely. This is a great course. Thank
Well,
you for what you do.
It's about time. It's about time you listen.
Thank
That,
you.
by the way, is not only is she my holy sister in God, but she's my physical sister, because we were born from the same parents.
Oh.
So we are the ones who would confuse people, because we looked a lot alike, especially when we were younger. Laina and Layla, we were double trouble. Yes, Miss Katz, your thoughts today.
Oh gosh, it's always powerful, and it's really, I think, I forgot who said this, but it's like, it was totally what I needed to hear today. And because I have found myself allowing myself some suffering, and then like, why am I doing that? So what's the purpose of that? So I can make myself unhappy? That just doesn't compute. And I've been getting a lot of pressure from a doctor trying to get me to get vaxxed. And so I have, it's just the truth. The truth is I am sovereign. And I love that I can just honor what I believe to be the truth and follow that. So it's so simple, but hard.
It is so simple. Exactly. Simple, but not easy. So with that doctor, say to your doctor, you know what, doc, I'm so grateful that you care so much about me, but let's make a deal. When you can show me the isolated coronavirus. Show me where it's been isolated, where it's been found, and then show me the studies that have they've come up with something that has 0 side effects. Then I'll take that medication that has 0 side effects and 100% work on this virus. But you got to show me the virus, because it's never been isolated. Nobody knows, nobody has seen it, nobody has identified it. And then give me something that really works. And say, until then, I'll use things that I know have efficacy, things that I know work. So I'll do what works for me. And when you find something that works better than what I'm doing for me, then we can talk. And then leave it at that. There's no need to argue. They can't show you that because it's not there.
Right. I did thank him. I said, I know you care, and blah, blah, blah. And this is my truth. So
Thank you. Thank you for standing for your truth. It's going to be very necessary that you're that well grounded with the craziness that's going to happen as we begin to see the intensification of God is calling us to wake up. So it's going to require something big to wake up the big masses, and it's coming. And it's coming. So it's not a bad thing. It's really a part of the plan to wake us up. Thank you so much for that, Kat. So who else would like to share? Yes, LaTanya.
Hi. I can see why being on this journey could actually be uncomfortable for others who are not on this journey, because I can just look at my journey now, and it has been a total 360. Questions to me like, oh my goodness, you quit your job. You're not taking the vax. You're not doing this. You're not doing it. It's so out there. It's so extreme. I'm like, well, I choose the light. How about that? I choose the light. And I was thinking, well, gosh, I felt kind of guilty because I was the indoctrinator. I was in the public school. And I loved the children, but the way that we were going about making sure they were quiet, making sure they were masked, making sure that they were, like they were in jail.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that anymore. So
thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, expansion and sovereignty is very radical to somebody whose mind is indoctrinated and in confinement. In their fear, they can't see our faith. They can't. They may talk it, but they don't really have the faith that is required. Thank you so much for being here and for taking a stand for the greater good of all. And I'd love to hear from Candy, Yuri. You guys, Yuri, you were first time was last week. Did you get some nuggets here today? Candy, did you receive something that you think can be helpful to you? And you guys just unmute yourselves.
Yeah, this is Candy. Yeah, I liked everything that you said, and all the things that I've been going through lately. I kind of felt like I've been alone because my husband doesn't really follow what I've been following. And as far as the vaccine is concerned, my daughter, who was pregnant, had taken the vaccine, and and I have refused to do that. And she even brought up the fact that, well, I'm concerned about my children and about you being around the children because, you're not vaccinated. And if I could get them vaccinated, I would. And, she's got a newborn and a 3-year-old. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I said, you know what? I said, I would never do anything to harm my grandchildren. And I said, but this is what I believe. I said, I don't, excuse the dog, but I don't believe in this vaccine. And I am putting my faith in God. And, he's going to take care of me. And I'm doing what I feel I need to do. And so, like I said, I feel like I've been all alone. So this is really, really helps me, ground me.
Wonderful, Candy.
You've given me a little bit of tools to help with the people that think I'm crazy.
Well, you're not crazy. You're just waking up into a new reality. And it's so wonderful that what I'm hearing in you is a gentleness. Even though you would want to see your grandchildren, there's a gentleness in you that is respecting your daughter's path. And we are all going to have those people in our lives that are going to see things very differently because we're being tested. Which side of the line are we going on? We cannot escape the test that we're on. It's a test that is going to create a new earth. And you can't have people going into a new earth that's wishy-washy. Only those that are clear about what they want, which is we're going to be building communities. The communities are going to spring up all over the place where there are communities that are going to be self-governed. Because especially here in the USA, we were not designed for central government to have all the power. The power exists with the people. So we are going to find, our voice, claim our power, and it might get ugly because those who have power don't want to give it away. So it could get to the revolution stage, but that's all right, because even in the word revolution, the word love is there. And revolution is a return to the evolution of our soul. And we are being invited into a new way of being, a new way of thinking for a wonderful reason. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that.
Hey, it's Yuri.
Hey, Yuri, thanks for coming back.
Hey. Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't have missed it. I really enjoyed today, and it is so easy to maybe cast judgment on people who aren't believing the truth, but the more you just show love to them, and maybe they'll recognize and wake up, and that's all I can hope for, is that I can show love to people instead of discouragement.
Love that, Yuri. And here's the thing. If you stay grounded in your truth, don't accept anything, don't consent to anything you don't want, stay peaceful, don't go out there, just bashing people or blaming people or making a lot of noise. Stay quiet and grounded, because it's going to get more intense. And as it gets more intense, those of us who are at peace, because see, if you really want to be enlightened, you've got to reach the level of Jesus. You're not a body, you're free. And if you get comfortable with your eternal self, and oh, if this body drops, if they kill it, if they shoot it, if it dies in its sleep, if it dies, from this, that, or the other, it's all right. I'm eternal. Create a relationship with your eternal self. You will be more at peace in your physical self, your body, your calm, peaceful body at the frequency that it's going to be vibrating at is going to be able to be easy for you to navigate what's coming. And in that peace, others are going to be watching it, because everybody wants peace. Everybody wants peace and to be happy. And if you're happy living your life while things get crazier, people are going to notice that we're going to stand out like beacons in the night. And because it's going to get a lot darker, has to wake up the masses. So thank you for coming back, Yuri. This is so wonderful. I'm so grateful, you guys.
Absolutely.
Join me today. If you
Thank
like this, share this with others, please. Let's not keep the good information to ourselves. Share this with others. Lisa, I'm so grateful you invited Candy. Angela invited Yuri. That is so wonderful. Lorelei told Patricia about this. So please share with others, because why not extend the light? Thank you all so much, and I will see you next week. Oh, and go to that Telegram channel that is strictly about Course in Miracles if you want to do that. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves and let's just say goodbye to each other.
Hasta luego.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye,
for the
everyone.
love.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Absolutely.